I have a very important question to ask you. This famous sauce, how do you pronounce it? Worcestershire? Worcestershire? In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to pronounce all of these strange, unusual, and extremely difficult towns, cities, and counties in the United Kingdom. So grab yourself a cuppa and stay tuned. So welcome once again, and if you've ever looked at a map of the United Kingdom and felt like the letters were playing a trick on you, you aren't alone, because British place names are a linguistic minefield of silent consonants, historical leftovers, and syllables that simply vanish into thin air. But today, I'm helping you master the British map, because we're going to look at over 30 of the most difficult towns, cities, and counties to pronounce, with help from the International Phonetic Alphabet, the IPA, and some simple sound-like guides so you never get lost in translation ever again. So, that being said, let's get into it. But before we do get started, this is just a gentle reminder that right now you can download my brand new application, English with Lewis. It's currently only available on the App Store, but in February it should be ready for Android users as well. That way you can speak to me 24/7, review new words and phrases, and hopefully, fingers crossed, become fluent in English in 2026. Enough about that. Let's keep going. And let's begin with 5 different places. And the tip here is to ignore the CE. What I mean by this is that it's kind of silent. We don't pronounce the CE. Let me show you what I'm on about. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we have Leicester. Leicester. And for many people, what you're thinking of is Leicester, right? Leicester. But no, forget the CE, because the correct pronunciation is Leicester. Leicester. And the next one, related to the introduction of this podcast, is Worcester. Worcester. Because most people, looking at how it's written, they would think, it must be pronounced Worcester, right? Worcester. But no, we don't pronounce it like that. It's simple, just Worcester. Worcester. Therefore, going back to the pronunciation of the famous sauce by Leon Perrins, it is Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Worcestershire sauce. Easy when you think of it like that, innit? Moving on to the third different place, and this is Gloucester. Gloucester. And again, what you're probably thinking is Gloucester, but forget the cester, because it's just Gloucester. Gloucester. And if it is the county, it would be Gloucestershire. And now the next place, honestly, I didn't know it even existed. I don't know where this Bicester actually is in the United Kingdom, but apparently it exists. But it's another example of why you should ignore the CE. So again, looking at the pronunciation, looking at the spelling, you would probably think, Bicester. But no, forget the cester. It's just Bicester. 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 And the last one, following this kind of trend and pattern, is toaster. It sounds funny, I know, because of course, I'm recording in my mum and dad's kitchen, and you have a toaster behind me to toast bread. But looking at this, you would think it is toaster, but no, it is toaster. I'm going to toaster for the weekend. So let's just recap. forget the Cester, and it is Leicester, Worcester, Gloucester, Bicester, and Toaster. So that is the first pattern that we see. And now we're going to continue with some words and places where the W is silent or it's a little bit different. And starting with Greenwich. Greenwich. And for those of you who don't know, our time zone is known as Greenwich Mean Time or something similar. But again, if you look at how it is spelt, you would think green witch, a green witch. But no, forget the W. And the green is used with a short vowel sound. So it is Gren. Gren, itch. Greenwich. Greenwich. After that, we have another one, which is Norwich. Norwich. So once again, we forget the W, where you would think it might be pronounced as Norwich. You're wrong. It's Norwich. Norwich. And the third is what you might be thinking, Warwick. It is actually pronounced Warwick. Warwick. I'm going to Warwick University. So all of those three, I'd say, are tricky, they're complicated, they're difficult, but they're doable. Whereas the next one is very strange. So this is a place in London. I think it's in South London, but don't take my word for it. And looking at the spelling, you would think South Walk. It would seem logical, even for many native English speakers. If you tell Americans to pronounce this word, they are almost certainly going to say Southwark. But Brits don't pronounce it like that, and for no apparent reason either. The correct pronunciation is Southwark. Southwark. It makes no sense, I agree, but that's how we pronounce it. Southwark. So not Southwark, but Southwark. And then one more, we have Berwick. Berwick. And this is similar to the previous ones as well, where we don't pronounce the W. So you don't have wick. It's not Berwick, as it almost should be pronounced, because the correct pronunciation is Berwick. Berwick. Good. Now let's keep going. And let's move on to the next section. And my tip for this section is just to think, bruh. Bruh. And a lot of people nowadays, instead of saying like bro, like to say friend or brother, they may say bruh. What's up, bruh? How's it going, bruh? Well, I want you to use that same sound. So, we got 4 different cities. And the first one, many people, they say Edinburgh. Edinburgh. But that is incorrect. We never say Edinburgh. The correct pronunciation, think bruh, is Edinburgh. Edinburgh. I went to Edinburgh for a long weekend. It was beautiful. And if you haven't visited Edinburgh, by the way, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. It's a beautiful city. So that's the first one, Edinburgh. And the next is Middlesbrough. And it's funny because my brother-in-law once ran into an old manager of Middlesbrough, and he was trying to pronounce it. And he's Spanish, and he was saying, he's like, Middlesbrough? Sí, el equipo de Middlesbrough. Yeah, the team from Middlesbrough. So, the pronunciation. Middlesbrough. bruh. Just think bruh. Middlesbrough, Middlesbrough, Middlesbrough. And the next one, another famous university city. You might look at the pronunciation and think that is Lau Bodor, but that is incorrect, and you know it is. So the correct pronunciation is Loughborough, Loughborough, Loughborough. I'm going to go to Loughborough to check out the university accommodation. Loughborough. And one more, we have Peter Bodor. No, remember, just think bruh. Peterborough. Peterborough. A friend of a friend, he is actually from Peterborough. Peterborough. So just think bruh. That is the message that you have to remember. I think that was, easy enough because there is a pattern. However, with this next little section, we have some very strange vowels where you think it should be one vowel sound, when in reality, it's a completely different one. So, looking at the first city or town, how do you think it is pronounced? Go on, what did you say? Did you say reading? Did you? Did you say reading? Because of course, it's written in exactly the same way as the present continuous of read. I am reading a book. But the city is actually pronounced like the color. I have my little red Santas because it's still more or less Christmas time. So the correct pronunciation of this city in the south of England is Reading. Reading. I'm from Leeds, and we have a festival which is twinned with Reading. It is Leeds and Reading Festival. So remember, not read, but red. That's the first one. It makes no sense. I agree. Okay, after that, we have a weird looking spelling. So we have Slough. So you might think it's slough. You might think it's slow. But no, in this case, it rhymes with cow. So the vowel sound is an ow. That sound like if you imagine somebody punches you, what sound do you make? You go ow. So in this case, this little town, which is in the outskirts of London, is pronounced Slough. Slough. If any of you have watched The Office, the UK office is actually based in Slough. You know, this comedy series with Ricky Gervais. It was all set and recorded in Slough. Good. Now, the next one. It's a weird place. It's not very well known, so I'm going to be quick. And you might maybe say Frome, looking at the spelling, but in fact, it sounds like Froome. Froome. I'm off to Froome for the weekend. I'll be nice and quick with the rest. And then we have E-L-Y. Ellie, right? Ellie. In this case, the pronunciation is Ely. Ely. I have a cousin who lives in Ely. Now, I must admit, I don't know where Ely is, so check it out for yourself. And then we have two more well-known cities. The first one is Derby. Derby. And the same pronunciation is used for different competitive matches where two local teams face off and compete against each other. So we pronounce it like Derby. Whereas I know, for example, in Spanish, they would say un derby. But no, in this case, it is Derby. Derby County. Derbyshire. And one more. Looking at the spelling once again, we might think Hertford. Hertford. The vowel is weird again. So we pronounce the E like an A. So it is Hartford. 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 Like, you have your heart and your heartbeat. So it's pronounced like an A. Hartford. So let me just repeat them because they're quite difficult. We have Reading, Slough, Frome, Ely, Derby, and Hartford. Now, a random question. What flag is this? Any guesses? So we have a blue flag with a white rose in the middle. And this flag, in fact, belongs to my county. You know that I'm from a town near Leeds, so you should know that Leeds is in which county? It is in Yorkshire. Yorkshire. Like the dog, the Yorkshire Terrier. And the reason I've included this is because we're going to look at some other counties that are difficult to pronounce, the majority of which ending in Shire. You know, like the Lord of the Rings, the hobbits, they are from the Shire. But we don't pronounce it like Shire. And again, I think about Spanish people I know, and when they are referring to the dog, they would say, Yorkshire, Yorkshire, or Yorkshire. But that's incorrect. We don't pronounce it like that. So it is Yorkshire, Yorkshire. And even when I go to football matches of Leeds United, you might hear a chant and a song where people will go, Yorkshire, Yorkshire, Yorkshire. So remember, sh. Almost like you're telling someone to be quiet. Sh, sh, sh. So here we've got a long list of similar counties because the vast majority of counties in the United Kingdom, or at least England, end in Shire. But the Shire is pronounced as sh. For example, Worcestershire, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, Gloucestershire, Leicestershire, Leicestershire, Hertfordshire, Hertfordshire, Berkshire, Berkshire, Warwickshire, Warwickshire, Buckinghamshire, Buckinghamshire, Shropshire, Shropshire, and mine, of course, which is actually the biggest county in England. You know, I don't want to show off too much, but it is. It is Yorkshire. My friend has a Yorkshire Terrier. Yorkshire. And the last one is a bit random, but it is Anglesey. Anglesey. Which, if you look at the spelling, you would think it's Anglesey, perhaps, but it's Anglesey. But the tip is to remember sh. Sh, sh, sh. And on that note, hopefully I have cleared up this eternal doubt of how do I pronounce this city? How do I pronounce this town? How do I pronounce this county in the United Kingdom? Because I'll admit, a lot of these pronunciations don't make any sense. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's a minefield. You never know which vowel is going to be pronounced, which letter is going to be silent. So, that's why I would advise that you watch or listen to this podcast once again and repeat after me so you can really nail the pronunciation via shadowing. Because, of course, English shadowing, copying how I speak and my pronunciation is a great way for you to improve your pronunciation as well. And that's it. Remember to check out English with Lewis, the new application that you can use on the App Store. And if you'd like classes with me, of course, you can check out englishwithlewis.com as well. So, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!